Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, not for sure. Which one?
It's by Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms. It's called Space is Fake AF. Pretty funny.
No, I haven't heard it.
Morning, Nathan.
Morning.
Or Nathan.
Morning. You right, Neil?
Everything good. Very noisy here.
Okie dokie.
Good afternoon. And I said, what am I going to do here? That's what almost the whole world believes. What am I going to do? Start calling the whole world?
That depends where you're at. You know, I'm not that interested other than running a YouTube show that specifically deals with it, right? I'm not, I suppose I can't really say I'm not proactively doing it because that is proactively doing it. But beyond my show, I don't care. You know, that's enough for me.
Yeah, you're not going to die on every cross. I hear you. That's me.
That's a better way of putting it. But I don't care. You know, if somebody wants to believe in a sphere Earth, good for them. You know, that's their bag, not mine. That's outside of this arena, right?
Yeah, outside of this arena. Yeah. But sometimes, sometimes you hear it and it catches you. And you're like, should I make a difference in this guy's life? Or how's he going to receive it? Because I know a couple of years ago, somebody called in and started talking about flat earth and they just cut him right out. Boom. Just knocked him off the show. Like, okay, this guy is out of his mind. And he was, he was kind of making sense to the guy. He was breaking it down for him. But I wanted to just call him just to explain to him about gas pressure out of container. If I throw that at him, let him think about that.
You mean like the clip that I'm going to release later today? That clip. Have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I haven't.
Trouble at the BBC is the title. So Simon Dan puts to a BBC correspondent, aka astrophysicist who works for the BBC, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Or he explains that that's our argument. and he didn't get an answer. The only part of it that you could say was an answer, well, they're definitely wrong. Obviously, they're wrong.
Oh, we talked about that yesterday, right? This one you were talking about yesterday a little bit?
Yeah, but I trimmed out what we discussed about it, and but the interview itself, albeit edited down a little bit. Oh, Neil's disappeared. Well, that puts an end to that conversation.
I don't know. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, he dropped. Yeah, I just trimmed out what we were discussing and put the actual interview itself in there. Also pointing out that if you just disregard stuff because they're a Muslim that's put the view across, then that would be considered an outrage across society. Whereas Flat Earther, rather than Sikh, and you go, oh, well, absolutely, perfectly within my rights, just cut the person off, immediately describe whatever they say is stupid, regardless of it being a description of a natural law. Well, then they're obviously wrong. What's that you say? They described a natural law? Well, then they're wrong. Okay, that's an outrage, really. Why? Postulating the second law of thermodynamics and its description of an entropy increase when gas expands into a vacuum. You've got a sky vacuum. What's that you say? Because I'm a flat earther, I'm instantly wrong? It's an outrage.
I think they think because you're a flat earther that you can't be right. And that's the presumption that they're working with before you even open your mouth.
Right. But then transpose the word Muslim on top of that. Well, because he's a Muslim, he's obviously automatically wrong. How many Muslims would be kicking off?
Yeah.
In the example we used in that.
Well, how do we get flat earthers recognized as a minority group that needs protection?
Point out the fact that we're persecuted as a minority group.
Yeah.
Just fact. That's
Is the
how it is,
majority
right?
of the world Muslim?
Say again, sorry.
So isn't the majority of the world Muslim?
I don't know. I have no idea what separates it. It doesn't matter which religion. I could have said Hindu. I could have said... It doesn't matter. You know, I could have said Jewish. I'm just saying.
No, I get it.
If I said, you mean he's got this opinion and he's Jewish? Oh, well, then I can automatically ignore every word he said. He's obviously automatically wrong. Or a woman. You mean the person writing this is a female? Well, then she's automatically wrong. What an outrage.
Here we go.
Yeah, flat earther. That said, you know, there are certain individuals in Britain that are still tolerated in terms of their persecution. For example, ginger people. There are very few subgroups of society that you can point and laugh at and it's tolerated. Well, in Britain, if you're ginger, it's deemed acceptable to go, "Hi, ginger."
Wait, ginger girls are not accepted?
I'm just joking, Neil. It's just a bit of fun.
Yeah, but I figured a girl's got to be accepted. Come on. Little curiosity.
I love redhead women.
A big part of our culture, as especially men, is that we give each other shit. Like, and even if it's race or color of the skin or whatever, like we still give each other shit. Often it's a way of us bonding with each other, you know.
For sure.
And they're trying to take that away
Same
from
in New York, though.
society.
Same in Brooklyn.
So I don't know whose meme it was, but I saw a meme that said, "Can we go from trying not to offend anybody back to offending everybody?" And it's a picture of a black guy and a white guy on a horse.
Yeah,
laughing.
yes,
You know?
please.
Really.
It's just an interesting topic, right? We are classed as being in a group, and we receive pretty dire treatment as a collective.
Absolutely.
Are we all wallowing in self-pity for a few moments? Oh, we're so badly treated.
We're just misunderstood.
Yeah, you just don't
Yeah, but
understand us.
nah, as far as having at it with each other, it's the same in where I come from. We attack each other. There's no if you get offended, then you're gonna get attacked more. It's like if you could deal with it, then your balls are not gonna get broken as much. But you show a sign of weakness or you're getting offended, then forget about it. It's over.
Yeah, I don't think New York will ever change.
The social dynamics of a pack, it's just natural. It's how it works.
I tell my wife all the time, you would have never been able to handle my best friend, the kid that got murdered when I was in prison, because he was a scotch. I mean, a ball breaker. And if you let it be, if you showed any sign that it was bothering you, forget it. He never got off you.
In a way, they're trying to make you stronger too by doing that, so that you thicken up your skin and you can,
Precisely.
handle it.
Arwen is a good example of that. You have to toe the line with, he's a bit sensitive about certain things, so you can't push it too far, but by the same token, you want him to toughen up. And he has.
Oh my God! You know something, Arwen? He would have literally abused Arwen daily. But that type of personality, I used to say, Joey, forget it, Joey. You're not getting through. Just give it up. It's not bothering me. And he'd laugh and go on to the next. But yeah, especially in the bars, when we used to hang out in bars, forget about it.
Ranty used to get Arwen pretty good too, didn't he? Back in the day.
I
Yeah, he
only
did.
vaguely
He used
remember.
to get under his
Maybe you can
skin.
remind us.
No, but hold on a second. There's a difference in bullying, like he was doing. I considered Randy bullying him a little bit. I don't know.
I vaguely remember saying a couple of times, don't bully Arwen.
It's precisely it. Everyone just needs to grow thicker skin. Period.
Can you have too thick a skin? Can it reach a point where things that should matter to you just don't?
I think so. I think I'm there. I really don't give a shit what anyone thinks or says.
I asked for my own. I'm glad you said it too. It saves me being the first. But yeah, that's kind of in some ways how I feel. Like, yeah, I don't care.
I think it's a matter of recognizing the circumstances when you can be that way and when you need to be a bit more sensitive.
I remember when I first started looking into this that, you had that filter. You said certain things and didn't say others, but now it's just verbal, just blah. I don't give a shit. I'll say whatever's on my mind.
Or not. That's what I'm saying. I've got a degree of apathy towards the criticism that are, especially the old ones. Now, I see somebody parroting something off about gyroscopes, and half the time I've just like, I don't care. I don't even want to correct you. It's just such a tired old argument. Hey, Brian, by the way.
Morning, bro.
He's obviously disappeared temporarily.
Here, let's give it a test run. Now, I would break balls like this. Hey, Brian, have you read the Bible yet, Brian?
He doesn't care either.
He's not there.
His response to me, no, Neil, I haven't.
Hey everyone, sorry I can't talk. I'm up on a cliff. I've been making a lot of noise, so I have to be on mute. And no, I haven't read it yet.
You're up on a cliff. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Life's
No,
worth
it's
living.
not that bad. I was trying to get a photograph there. I was trying to get a black swan. I just came out for a walk here, but there's islands off the way there. But where I am, I'm actually standing inside the alcove at the moment. It's been a little gun tour place, but back a long time ago, built by the British, I think. But as soon as I walk out of here, you can forget about it. I think it's windy now. If you can hear noise now, we don't walk out of here. You hear nothing but whistling, so I'll have to be on mute for another 20 minutes.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is one of those things that goes through my head, or did a couple of days ago when I was at the beach. Like, I wonder how far the Isle of Wight is. I'm sure I could get a black swan out of this.
Now, I want to ask you about that Isle of Wight, because I remember hearing that in a Beatles song when I was a kid. Is it nice over there or something?
In quite an expensive part of the country. Dorset coast is where you can see the Isle of Wight from. And Dorset's very expensive. So, yeah, I would say it's nice. The beach, right? What's not to
I don't know.
like?
He talks about it in When I'm 64. He talks about the Isle of Wight.
I see, because it's a nice place to retire. If you're wealthy and you want to retire onto an island with sea all around you and, you know, niceness, then Isle of Wight.
Now it all makes sense.
That's what my parents have done. They've moved down there in their retirement years. Sea air and all that good stuff.
Somebody's going to trim this out and say, see, Nathan's robbing all you dumb flat earthers. He's able to send his parents off to the Isle of Wight.
Send my parents off. Joking, right? I scrounge off them still. I'm 40.
Listen, you know how they twist things. They'll have it that you're making a fortune and you're able to put them up in the Isle of Wight. I had to defend you. You know how many times you don't even know about it? That I had to come to your defense. I know you don't give a crap.
I didn't want to say anything, dear. You don't have to defend me. I don't care. In years, the amount of crap that's out there about me is just unspeakable. Yeah, I accepted that a long time ago. People want to project their pain onto me. I get it. Like Miles. That was an eye-opening explanation from, I think it might have been from, was it Brian yesterday? Yeah, your pain.
Have you ever had a conversation or a debate with someone where they've conceded at the end and gone, actually, I think you might be right?
I've seen it a couple times in
Twice.
24/7.
I was going to say twice. Yeah, it is literally just a couple of times. The zealotry normally gets the better of them. Much easier to
Yeah, it was a big.
restart the argument, start again. The same exact claim that's been debunked, and then it be debunked until time runs out. Doesn't matter if that's 35 times.
That was a big
the
space
record skips
UFO.
back to the start again.
I remember who it was with, but I remember doing it in excess of 100 times with somebody. I remember who it was. It might have been Cats asking about gas pressure without a container every time I saw him in comments. Might not be, but I think it was. I just started numbering them. How many times I'd asked him, how can you have gas pressure without a container?
But that's the thing, that they've got like a counter argument for everything. Might not, sound good, but they've got an argument in their mind,
Yeah, game plan rather than a winning argument.
Well, they assume they've got they're on rock solid ground. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is the reason why we get the level of cognitive dissonance, because they're in a position where they're at when they come here that they are automatically right. How could they possibly be wrong? So when they're proven wrong, they have a little cognitive episode, and as I say, repeat the exact same thing. How could this be wrong? We all know we're on a sphere. I know I'm on a sphere, so when I tell you I'm on a sphere and give you an argument that gets rapidly debunked, how could that be? And what goes through their mind is, this isn't right. You're an idiot, flat earther. It's like, no, you've just lost your argument. Your position's void. No, you're an idiot. That's what goes through their mind. Or in the
I
case,
think the big thing for...
Go on.
Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say, in the case of the BBC correspondent, it was like, well, they're obviously wrong. They can't not be wrong. No matter what they're claiming, they must be wrong automatically.
Yeah, I think it gets me is like, how things disappear bottom up on flat surfaces. And, I bring it up, but I know, like, it's been demonstrated so many times, like, and it just still in denial of that little simple thing.
Somebody had Kosho, I think, or it might have been Kosho, might have been someone else, I forget who, doesn't matter, asking how is this happening, a little toy boat disappearing bottom first long before an assertion of Earth curve could be made. And the response was, well, it's optical. No, well, that's not accounted for in your maths of Earth curve obstructions that get in the way. The fact that it's happening prior to Earth curve just means that that isn't Earth curve that you're seeing when that happens.
Good morning.
Hey, Ted.
Sound check.
Sounding good. On you yet?
Good. Just got my PC up. Sorry, I'm late.
Late. There's no timetable here.
Yeah, but I'm normally one of the first few on. I had to work on this dumb PC.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, Anthony helped me out.
Happy out with the PC?
Well, we were just getting some settings right just before the show.
I see.
Sorry, keep going on. Didn't want to interrupt.
Just talking about us automatically being assumed to be incorrect regardless of any claims that we make or rebuttals that we give to positions that are asserted by globeheads. And in the face of a challenge to their rhetoric, it cannot be processed that we've dismantled their claim. That just can't process through a fundamentalist religious zealot with a globe beliefs mind. That's not possible. So normally it's descend to ad hom. Repeat claim 15 times.
So the arguments we give to their claims is hand waved and they don't pay attention or even process it.
No. If the end of the line for their argument is one that has a rebuttal from us, no. The end of the line was with that last rebuttal I gave you. You don't get to refute my rebuttal. If I bat refraction at you and you point out that we're supposed to have geometry, and you point out that that's basically eradicating the original claim of geometry, that's not acceptable. Refraction. Can't just have a response to my deemed appropriate response. That's what's the end of the argument for me. Refraction.
Yeah, they won't let you dig down deep with that one, because then they'll say a straight line is curved. Then that's a second area we're going to hold them to it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to have a conversation when someone has curve synonymous with straight.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Chocolate Sane, who's joining during the introduction, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Morning, morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good to have you all. Quick shout out for my show that's going out later on this evening. To those of you watching this show live, Trouble at the BBC comes out at 9:15 PM UK time, just before the Uncut and After show that particular trimmed out clip was taken from, together with the interview with Simon Dan. Shout out to Simon Dan, by the way. I should give him some props for getting a BBC correspondent on his show to interview. Fair play to you. Good, typically I'm bashing Simon Dan, but kudos, my friend. Good interview. Anyway, let's do some housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
No evidence of that, but we have evidence of people on the ball side wanting to say straight is curved and curved is straight, and not being able to process words and meanings.
Yeah, they like to change the meaning of straight to curved and curved to straight. It's a good job when they're doing geometry. It's got a name, i.e. tangent. Definitely straight.
Isn't there a bit of a controversy
That's
about
irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
Right. Isn't there a controversy at the moment between people who used to use that in the proper way, now denying they did?
Yeah, it's a big problem. Conspiracy Cats has opened a whole can of worms where I can literally lay criticism of us in the first instance making a claim about the globe on top of a claim being made by globers about what they say flat earthers claim, and every ounce of their criticism that came our direction is just being fired back with minimal editing required. So the criticisms that were laid at our door is now laid at their door. The only difference being there's no physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon anymore. We've debunked the R value, and we've debunked their claim that they've debunked our black swan with refraction because that's based on an R value. So It's a very different kettle of fish these days.
But isn't it apparent that when we look at the Andrew Thomas Young orthographic drawings or depictions, whatever you want to call them, that they have a tangent line on top of a sphere?
Yeah, even when they're claiming to refract the horizon, they still have a tangent in the diagram. That's correct. It's required to do the geometry to acquire the R to refract the horizon with an R value. To perform that geometry, there's going to be a tangent involved at some stage. We've just debunked it.
How come that tangent line isn't curved?
A tangent isn't curved.
I know.
That's the problem. Hey, Adam. When they say straight is bent.
I was just cracking up because I just listened to the clip with 10th Man asking Ed, you know, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. Does that sound like your claim? And Ed said, no, that sounds like yours. I was dying laughing. Like, really, Ed? So the flat earthers claim that the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. This is the level that y'all have reached at this point. This is where you guys are.
Yeah. Well, I released them in a certain order, so you've got the although it comes out tonight, you can go and watch the preview now. So Trouble at the BBC has got a preview that's about 3 minutes long, but because I obviously make these previews for the 10, 12, 20-minute videos, they then sit in my list of ready to be published videos. So when something juicy comes along, I mean, I don't watch Simon Down. It takes someone like Mr. Chesick to actually trim it out for me to know it's happened. But when it does, I'm like, oh, that's juicy. I'll make a video about it, along with a 3-minute trailer. But often, when I'm like all fired up because I've just made a lengthy video, I'll bosh out the trailer in no time. And sometimes they're terrible. Sometimes they're better than the full-length, unedited 15-minute section that I've, put out with a trailer. But it means that when something like this happens, and I can say, right, this BBC correspondent, aka astrophysicist, has had a postulation presented that he's ignored. He's had a demonstrable debunking of the second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum called space, and how it doesn't sit in line with natural law. Now, from that, you can say, well, what are the arguments that they go to? Well, gravity. So gas go down, kaboom, boom. So I went down my list. I'm like, which one of these clips is someone talking about that? Oh, brilliant. Blue Marble Science. I just happened to mention that the debunking of his claims that mass attracts mass are violated by gas behaviour. And in so doing, I'm debunking the sky vacuum. Perfect. So there's gravity debunked straight after that video in the list of videos on Flat Earth Thoughts, which is my continuous playlist of every video. And then, following that up, you've got them burden of proof reversal fallacy because they've had Black Swan presented to them in a very concise way by 10th Man in that example, followed by, that's not my claim, it's your claim. In other words, when it comes to the point that they've no longer got anywhere to go, they'll try and reverse the burden of proof and say, no, you're claiming Earth the sphere radius 3959, and it's a straw man. No, it's definitely your claim in the first instance, same as Earth curve that you say you don't have anymore. It's just devastating when we point these out, and they'd rather make those things that they formerly claimed as proof of Earth curve, in this case Earth curve, are irrelevant now. Geometric horizon's irrelevant, that's Earth curve. Irrelevant because you've claimed it and we've debunked it. Shout out to Jardu, who says, the Black Swan is quicksand for globers. The more they carry on about it, 7/6R, the further they sink. Yeah, a good point. We kept saying that. Quantum Eraser would say, yeah, keep smacking the C4 fire.
Yeah, the globers can't use optics to establish the radius, unfortunately, because of terrestrial refraction.
It's the Arwinian paradox.
When gas behavior is talked about, we're red herring a bit when we talk about helium balloons going up, because in actuality, we're talking about mass attracting mass, then there should just be lots of air coalescing together.
Well, as described in a gravitational accretion situation where you end up with a sun, that sort of scenario. Yeah, that's what they describe. It just doesn't happen. We have elastic collisions. They're repelling. They're bouncing off each other. They're not coalescing. They're not attracting. Quite the contrary. Nor do they attract to the centre of the mass of the Earth that's beneath us, according to them, as a sphere. It reaches the ground and just bounces off. So it's complete nonsense, the assertion that they'd say, well, gas goes down, go boom boom. And what Jardu... Go on.
The red herring is actually the conversation about relative density. Right? because they're talking about how balloons going up and it's because of density, but that's also because of gravity and blah, 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 blah. But when actuality, the conversation is not about that. It's about the molecules of air that are supposed to be attracted to each other rather than moving omnidirectionally.
Right. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume it has to fill. It's not attracting. Shout out to Jadu, who says we should celebrate Ranty as a martyr. He has done more for Flat Earth in 6 weeks than anyone. Praise Ranty. It's one way of looking at it. Another way, another commenter, thanks for the super chat by the way, put it was Ranty didn't do a great job of debunking the globe when he was a flat earther. But now he's a glober. He's going to do fantastic work. So, interesting way of looking at it. Also, shout out Godzilla37. Chocolate never gets enough love. Why is that so? Well, I don't know about that. So, I'm going to say it for all of us. Hi, Arwin.
Hello.
Hi, Arwin.
What's up, Arwin?
Ranty is maybe an intellectual martyr. He sacrificed his brain to basically help us out. Well, goody. Thanks. Thanks, Ranty.
It's hard to gauge how much
What
love
brain?
chocolate. It's hard to gauge how much love chocolate needs since the bar is high.
Giving him too much credit. I mean, there's a reason it's thanks cats. You know, behind every great woman, there's a great man. Or whatever. You know, there's a driving force behind this. So, well, you'd have to look very far to know where that driving force has come from. So yeah, hashtag thanks cats. That would be my opinion, Jadu. Obviously, you can feel free to ascribe all the credit you like as a martyr to Ranty. But I don't know, is he claiming martyrdom now? I don't know. He seems to have it, from what I understand, have it done on his behalf by people like Bob Nodell. But has he actually claimed martyrdom? I don't know. I don't keep up with this.
He claimed with Brian in the debate that in a million years, he'll never scale anything correctly.
Yes, devastating. Yes.
Brian caught him 700 plus inches short in his scaling model. He says, well, in a million years, I never do it correctly, basically.
I love it.
I know it's been attributed to him, a martyrdom, but I think in the video that Vantis produced, which is his escape from the cult video, that's exactly how he describes it. It's he's escaped from a cult. So I don't think he's playing the martyr card. He's... Well, you have to watch the video, like I say. But,
I'm good. Thanks.
He's escaped from the cult that thinks for itself. Wow, that's cute.
So he wasn't kicked out then, as it was claimed.
No, not from his. No. On his video, he's not. Like I said, I think that claim came from Bob Nodell. Certainly on Ranty stuff, he's happy to be away from his crazy Moonies.
Okay.
Oh, that
He
came
definitely-
from Bob. That's cute.
Ranty definitely has a field of view problem because he sided with Zanuck that when looking at the video where Soundly says that Lakeview Terrace and the other buildings are missing by 200 feet of earth curve, I pointed out, dude, like you can see the cars, the lights from the cars going to and fro on the causeway 25 miles away, 25 feet off the ground from an 8-foot observer. And he's like, no, that's actually a part of the bridge that's 16 miles away, or it was 13 miles away. And I'm like, no, because they're zoomed in and the field of view doesn't have that portion of the bridge in it, Ranty. So I got to go dig that video
Wow.
up.
You'll find that detail's irrelevant to the claim.
So the Earth curve, that's irrelevant to the Earth curve?
Yeah, totally.
When you're siding with Zanuck, then you know you got issues.
Oh, I know what day it is. Day it was, because it was either it was just a few days of the Black Swan. Because I was coming on to talk about the destruction of Zanuck when the black swan was presented, I was like, well, this doesn't matter anymore.
Eli, all the days are the same in this cult. Stop it now. You know that.
As I said to 10th Man just before the show started, he was like, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm like, you're under absolutely no obligation whatsoever. And there has been times, not recently, a very long time ago, literally years ago, where I'd started the show with no one here. No one. Just me. And I'd have to waffle on for a while, invite people to pretty much beg the audience who are watching to join. You know, that's how it was. But there's no obligation. This isn't some group that you're tied to.
He still paid his fine, though, Nathan, yeah? He's paid the fine.
Say that again.
Go on.
Paid the fine.
Yeah.
I don't follow. I don't get it.
For being late, even though there's no obligation, he's still paying.
Oh, well, obviously I'm going to dock his pay, but you know, that's not what I'm talking about. There's no obligation.
No, that comes from David Weiss. He's going to have to pay David Weiss for being late.
Right. That's an ongoing joke that David Weiss runs.
Yeah,
everything.
so no R. So we killed R, now we're having fun. We're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, it's been 3 straight days from last Friday to now where we haven't actually gone through more than one housekeeping question. And not that I mind that. I mean, the housekeeping questions are there to keep things ticking along. So, you know, it's not going to be objected to if we're discussing things. Hey, Sleeping Warrior, by the way. Sleeping Warrior is ace.
Maybe he's got something.
Tony.
Hey.
He is
I didn't credit
kind
you.
of ace, yes.
I didn't give you credit. Said somebody sent me the Mr. Cheswick clip. I've plugged it 3 times for Azure. I'm sure you saw the trailer already, Anthony. But it was Anthony that shared that with me, and he was very insistent. So he phoned me up and was like, you need to go and watch this particular clip and maybe go and get it, because he knows damn well I won't do it unless I'm literally on the phone with him going, get your iPad, go to the video now. Are you in front of that video? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've clicked on it. Yeah, right. Then he put the phone down at the point that he knows I'm actually watching it.
It was worth it though, wasn't it? I mean,
it was so worth it. I've just to the point where I literally at the beginning of the show gave Simon Dan props for a good interview.
Yeah,
Could I just give Mr. Cheswick some props? Because there was a long history with Tony and all those guys in not necessarily seeing where we were. There was aspersions from our own side cast towards folks like us, and there was a big fallout where Mr. Cheswick did some great, really, really good music stuff, asked Tony to not use it, and kind of told us to sod off. Kind of realised the reality, I think, about a year or so ago. And at the beginning of some of the protests, I went to one in Liverpool, and I just want to give him respect because he found me out, came up to me, apologised for all the shit in the past, and was looking forward to the future. So I just want to give him a shout and look forward to the tunes. But it takes a proper man to do that. So I wanted to say that. Weren't that online thing. He actually came up, shook my hand, and yeah, gentleman.
Yeah, he was a normal kind of guy.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, because he's skinny as well, right? He's about 5'10", but dead skinny, and I'm like, wow, for a small guy, you're sure giving a lot of shit online. And he came up and he said, I'm sorry for being a dick. I was like,
so
wow.
Anthony, go apologize to Bob now, Anthony.
For what?
Oh, listen, Bob's still pushing that incoherent. Bob, if you're listening, the thing that you think that is pulling down on matter, the thing that's giving it the bias, it's the magnitude of the stuff in question. Mass has got magnitude, right? It's a scalar. It moves up and down. That magnitude, when relative to other magnitudes, that's where your direction comes from, Bob. Stop telling people that there is something that gives the direction when it's the magnitude of the mass in question that does that. God damn it, Bob. How many times do you either just don't get it or you're just pushing disinfo? But it's disgusting listening to you talk.
Before you slate the guy, you said enough. You don't need to add this on the end. So, have you gone past the part already? I just can only assume the directionality being relative has been covered already at this stage, right?
He's doubled down again, saying that directions are not relative to the human. There's an absolute up and an absolute down. And I'm like, oh, God, Bob.
So circle jerking. Okay.
By the way, Anthony, I saw that you found your way or was recommended the same video I was recommended from Eugene Physics. And It appears that your comments were deleted because they were a little too spicy.
Oh yeah.
Care to share?
So I ended up getting a video. Remind me, what topic was the video on?
The video was titled, "Does Gravity Decrease Entropy?"
Okay, so obviously he was talking about gravity, and I was trying to correct him on a couple of misunderstandings that he had. And I wasn't swearing, I wasn't rude, aggressive. It's a new channel to me, but he had something like 800,000 subscribers, and I thought, let's see if I can engage. So I didn't swear, I wasn't rude or anything, but everything he gave back, I countered with the current position in science, with supported citations and stuff. And in the end, he just couldn't accept it and blocked me and said that he had to block me because I was trolling. And I'm like, trolling is where you're just being an arsehole for no reason. But when you're correcting people that misunderstand stuff in current physics, current science today, that's not trolling. But yeah, I got blocked because someone didn't like being told he was wrong on the internet.
So apparently trolling is now punching holes in somebody's argument with facts.
Yeah,
that's trolling now. That's cute.
Yeah.
Well, you
Basically.
did. Did you notice that? Did you notice that his first sentence began with, "If objects are at rest in space"?
Oh.
To be honest, everything in his video was wrong, and it's based on Newtonian physics. And obviously, we know that Newtonian physics changed in 1915 when Einstein published his theory on general relativity, which replaced, not refined, it replaced the current position in science today for what they thought of gravitation. And the guy, I tried to tell him stuff that he got wrong, and I tried to give him supporting citations and explain stuff, and he just wasn't listening. He was preaching to the brainwashed, and he was not considering that he might possibly have got it wrong. But this is what they can get away with on the internet: zero accountability. They'll never concede or consider the possibility that they might not be right. They just don't like it. They've got to have Newtonian gravitation. They've got to.
Well, Georgie Porgy told him, we can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't necessarily mean it is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
So I don't actually drive a Ferrari, right? My 1965 Mini Clubman estate thing, piece of crap, right? It's falling apart. It's not actually a Ferrari, but you can think of it as a Ferrari. It doesn't mean it really is a Ferrari, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
I thought that was the most shocking thing.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, we'd already had. The reason he was being interviewed, George Musa, Scientific American, the reason he was in the forefront, in front of Fight the Flat Earth, was because we were citing him when he specifically details how gravity is not a force. So him telling Craig, no, literally, it's not a force. While that was useful and backed up what he was already saying, and Anthony had a good laugh at it, you know, why are you interviewing this guy? We're using him as a citation, right? As a hostile witness to our argument. And you want to get him in front of you. He's just going to back our argument because they're his words. He's not going to go back on his words because they don't comport with your need for a force. Quote George Musa, literally, it's not a force, right? But the thing that was shocking was when he said that. I can't remember who it was that was watching it with me or shared it with me and pointed that particular part out. It's like, I think it was Chocolate. I think it was you, Chocolate. You're like, listen to what he's saying. We don't have to work at the really is level. What?
It's a similar thing with Newtonian gravity. We can and do, and we must think of Newtonian gravity as a force. That doesn't mean it really is, but we don't necessarily need to work at the really is level in this case.
Perfect time board. Excellent. Exactly. Nice to actually have a quote lined up in those timings.
Can you imagine if there was a concept that was called the car engine, right? And they didn't exist, but I had this concept in my head that car engines could be a thing. And I described what they were. I used phrases like conrods, pistons, crankshafts, pulleys, you name it. I can give you all the internal components. I could describe how they work. I could even draw diagrams to how they could, and I could present my arguments for you in a way that presented quite well. I could calculate the mix for the fuel and the air so that things would combust properly. You know, got a bit of maths in there makes it sound more credible, right? But unless I actually have the engine, right, You're just going to say to me, these things don't exist. You're in cuckoo land, la la land. But because engines are not in dispute and we know that they do exist, there's no problem. We can understand how these things work because it makes sense, because we understand that engines do actually exist. But what about gravity when we know that it doesn't actually exist? And if it did exist, they can't prove it. And even if it did exist and they could prove it, not half of them still can't even define it correctly. They don't see the problem of talking about gravity in that context. But if gravity was really a thing, like engines are actually a thing, it wouldn't even be an issue. But because it's not actually a thing, it's very much an issue, because you wouldn't let us flat earthers get away with describing engines if they didn't actually exist, would you? So why should we let you get away with it when you can't demonstrate these things exist? And in fact, science corrects you on these things the way you tell them to people, and you still don't accept it. It's outrageous.
It's fraud. I can't remember the name of the woman, but there was a woman recently that was. Hold on, Anthony. There was a woman that was describing to investors this blood testing kit, and it was like a little device where you could take a drop of blood, put it on, and it would analyze it, and then you get the results back in a few minutes. And it was just an idea, a great idea of something that could exist, but she was claiming, it does. And showing people demonstrations, but then handing the drop of blood to somebody who would put it under scrutiny with all the normal equipment that would be used, not a tiny little device. But she got billions of investment, like billions, massive people on board to do it, to back up her bullshit claims. And it was just based on the idea that it could exist. It doesn't have to work at the really is level. It just has to be perceived to work at the really is level to get lots and lots of investment. Yeah, until someone points out that unless it's real, it's fraud.
Yeah, it's almost like selling timeshares.
People go to jail for fraud.
It's almost like selling timeshares. They make it sound fantastic until you realize that the hotel they're selling timeshares for doesn't actually exist.
It's funny.
Elizabeth
when George
Holmes
Loser was saying
quote.
Sorry.
I just want to credit the person. It's Elizabeth Holmes. Look her up. That person, when you're dealing with something that's far less important than the nature of reality, becomes a fraudster when they're basically saying it doesn't have to work at the really is level. Anyway, sorry, Chocolate.
I was just gonna say that's why that line struck out to me so bad. Like I was just like, is he really saying this? He even did, when he said really is level, he even did the air quotes. Like you could hear it in his voice. It's kind of like, the really is level. Like this is bullshit, but you just have to, kind of play and pretend that it's real. It's ridiculous, man.
Well, he's giving you permission. We don't have to work at the really is level. Who's we? You're not working at the really is level, George.
Maybe he knew who he was talking to. So, because the guy he was talking to, of course, has to accept that even though this thing that he's talking about isn't real, we don't necessarily have to pretend that it's real. Or we have to pretend because it's not really real. It's so stupid. It's crazy.
Decimation after decimation, and they don't ever correct and say, all right, well, you know what? Okay, fair enough. They never say it.
Yeah, when you're dealing with it's obvious charlatanism, and they're telling you to your face how they are being charlatans, but people just accept it because they're being told we're not working at the really is level. It's like, yeah, you're claiming this is your physical reality, and yet the person who's claimed to be giving you evidence and proof and arguments to back that literally tells you that these arguments aren't reality. They're not operating at the really is, meaning physical, actual nature of the world we live in level. At the not really is level, at the pretend the world is how I describe it level, at the reified into physicality level when it's someone like Craig, as opposed to the guy who probably is sitting back thinking, I know this is all nonsense to the point I can detail it to someone on my own side in a way with such a nice wry smile that they'll accept and nod along when I tell them, we, you and I, don't have to work at the really is physical level like we experience. We can work at the fantasy level. It's all good.
Yeah, we can just make shit up
Exactly.
and reify it.
Shout out to Tony Whitcomb. When the bird leaves the nest to look for food, the nest doesn't zip away 1,000 miles an hour, and the bird can't find the nest now because it's miles away. No, that's right. The bird doesn't leave the nest and find that Earth turns beneath it at 15 degrees an hour on the equator, meaning that the bird's nest would be 1,000 miles an hour, 1,000 miles away when the bird returned an hour later after collecting a few worms.
But that's because birds don't lay their nests in really, really high up trees. It's not high up enough to be subjected to Coriolis deviation, Nathan.
Height's not a factor in Coriolis deviation. Having two reference frames, one turning beneath the other is. Any evidence that we have axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Thanks for the
Ranty
super chat, by the
losing
way,
his
Tony.
drone.
Say again, Arwin.
Ranty losing his drone.
Did his drone have Earth turn beneath it at 15 degrees an hour for him to observe
Yes,
it not
that's why
actually
he
drifting
lost
away?
it. Yes, that's why he lost it.
I see. He lost it, but realistically, the drone wasn't flying away from him at 1,000 miles an hour. It was merely him turning beneath it. Is that what was claimed?
Well, not yet, but he'll probably have to. But I can imagine that when he was still a flat earther, he was too ashamed to admit that it had happened because it contradicted his model.
Oh, I see. I'd have thought that would be the first thing that would convert you if there was going to be a conversion to be had. You go, I launched my drone and Earth turned beneath it at 15 degrees an hour. It just disappeared into the distance at about, what would be the speed here in England? 300 or 400 miles an hour?
Yeah, exactly. But it might have been Ranty losing his drone might have been the beginning of the end of him being a flat earther. It might have been the original triggering point that converted him back to the ball.
Okay, right, let's do the violins or the harps. Back in reality, Earth doesn't turn underneath drones at 15 degrees an hour for us to observe Coriolis deflection. No one's watching their drones drift away with Earth turning beneath them, ever. It doesn't happen.
It would be
Wouldn't
fun
it
to
also
debate
need
Ranty
a
on it.
physical sphere edge for a horizon to be turning in the first place?
Yeah, that's the black
No,
swan.
it's all locally flat. You don't need that.
Locally flat.
I see that
where it's not local.
I see that Einstein quote
In the
saying,
model.
no experiment or optical instrument can detect Earth's motion. So
Yeah, contradicted by Foucault claiming that Earth's turning beneath a pendulum and gyroscope at 15 degrees an hour for us to observe not actual deflection called Coriolis effect. So it is claimed that an instrument's demonstrating that. In reality, there's nothing natural that's drifting away at 15 degrees an hour, like, not that a drone's natural, but a bird. But in this example, because we're sticking with the drone, Arwin's giving us the example for humorous effect with Ranty having a drone funded by flat earthers that doesn't seem to have made any appearances. But nevertheless, that drone does not drift away at 15 degrees an hour. You launch a drone, it goes up, and however long the battery lasts, it could stay in the same position and come down and land on the exact same spot. Now, what's supposed to happen if Earth's turning is it goes up and you watch it drift away. And you go, oh my God, why is it flying away at 3 or 4 or 500 miles an hour? What's going on? And somebody smart ass next to you goes, oh, it's not. Obviously, your drone can't power itself at 400 or 500 miles an hour. That's ludicrous. We're turning underneath it, Earth spinning. It's called Coriolis deflection. Didn't you know? Everyone loses their drones. That's why they sell so many of them. The moment you launch them, we turn beneath them at 15 degrees an hour and they all bugger off and you just watch them drift away. Said nobody ever.
All you needed was to have like a cool Neil deGrasse Tyson in your pocket who could do a quick calculation and tell you how the Earth rotated underneath a football or a drone. Why not?
Well,
yeah,
I
Neil
say
deGrasse
that it does actually.
That's right.
It does
Chocolate.
actually happen. That's why you now have to get licenses for drones so many times in so many countries because people lose their drones and just end up at some random place might cause an accident because of the Coriolis deviation. That's why you now have to get permission.
I think everybody needs a Neil deGrasse Tyson apparent deviation calculator. We need that in the works, Tyson.
Yeah, well, you need a row of people, don't you? You need a row of people in a row. So you got the guy with the drone who launches up the drone, and as it's going up, right, someone next to him goes, "You know why that's drifting away?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "It's not drifting away. It's just hovering." And the guy goes, "No. Neil deGrasse Tyson explained that a ball heading towards a goal will drift through the goal because Earth turns beneath it, right? It leaves Earth and Earth carries on turning beneath it to cause drift. That's why your drone's drifting." And the first guy says it's not drifting. And then the third guy comes along and goes, "No, Earth is still turning, but we don't see it drifting." And the first guy says, "Yeah, it's not drifting." And the third guy says, "No, it's not drifting because Earth is spinning, but we don't see the effect of the drift. It's conserving the momentum." And the first guy goes, "Well, it's just not doing anything. It's just hovering." And the second guy goes, "No, it's drifting. It's Coriolis effect. We're seeing it drifting away." And the third guy's, no, it's not drifting away, but we are still turning, even though we've got no proof of that."
Sounds like Monty Python or something.
Yeah. You could do the same line of people with Earth curve. A guy goes, "Look, there's a clock. It's really far away. It's like 20 miles. And the second guy goes, "No, you can't see that clock. There's Earth curve in the way." And the first guy says, "No, I can. It's there. I see it. It's a clock. I can pretty much read the time off it, even though it's really far away." And the second guy goes, "No, Earth curve gets in the way." And they're looking at each other going, "But I can see it." "No, you can't. Earth's curve's in the way." Third guy comes along and goes, No, you're both wrong, right? You can't see the clock. What you're seeing is a hologram of the clock from behind the Earth curve that you can't see. So it represents itself as what we could call a mirage. So it's a mirage from behind the Earth curve that you can't see, so you can see it. And the first guy goes, "I just see it." The second guy goes, "No, you don't. It's got Earth curve in the way." And the third guy says, "Yeah, you can, even though Earth curve's in the way."
Right. And then he points at some random spot and says, "There's the geometric horizon."
And the fifth guy comes along and says, "We don't have a geometric horizon. What are you talking about? This is all irrelevant."
But I guess in most people's minds, when we bring this up, it's just like, they're thinking, well, everything turns together. Like that's their counter argument.
No, I'm sorry. Just Godzilla37 from the chat says, "Ranty's the third guy." No, Ranty's the seventh guy who says, "No, you're all wrong. It's locally flat."
No, then there's the eighth guy, Nathan, who comes along and says, "I can't prove any of the previous stuff I've just claimed, but it has to be a ball because that's impossible on a flat plane."
Yeah.
That's where we're at now. Where we're no longer housekeeping questions. They're just bringing us things to say, well, it has to be a ball because that's impossible on a flat plane.
Are you saying the ballers are starting to retreat from their ball position and they're just becoming flat Earth skeptics instead?
No, what happens then is ninth guy comes along and says, "Hello, you do all realise that the first guy who looked at the clock and just said he can see a clock is a flat earther. Obviously he's wrong."
You know who that first guy was that said that he could see the clock? It was Marconi back in the early 1900s when he said, "I'm going to try and send a ping over the Atlantic Ocean to America." And they all looked at him and said, "Don't be ridiculous. It'll get lost in the curvature." I mean, the fact that
clock 10,000 miles away.
Hold on. Did Marconi understand that there's going to be a presupposition utilised in defence of this called the ionosphere? He did know that someone was going to beg the question of something sphere-shaped. He did know that.
No, because the ionosphere wasn't invented until after he did his observation and
That's not what I said. No. He had to be clairvoyant and appreciate that there was going to be a sphere-shaped assumption that would defy their previous assumption that he couldn't make it because the Earth curve would get in the way. But when it didn't get in the way, there was a presupposition of an ionosphere that would overcome that small problem that was previously not allowed because Earth curve would get in the way. Earth curve wouldn't get in the way because we're up to the fifth guy who's saying, no, Earth curve does get in the way, but ionosphere.
They should have called it the Marconosphere, because at least that would have given his the name to him, for people to find later on in life, rather than a generic name.
Any single
and then another guy.
They don't want to give you
missing out on you're missing out on the ninth guy that comes along and says, guys, you're all wrong. Nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve.
Yeah, but they don't
Another
want
guy
to
comes
name
in
it
and
after
won't let anyone
Marconi
talk, and
because
his name is
then they
Rumpus.
would give new people the idea like, oh, he did something and it invented a new element to our cosmology. Oh, let's try and do something too. No, they'd like to keep people that are actually testing new things, forcing the religious model to invent a new element to their model in order to justify what they did. They kind of want to keep those people out of people's attention, right?
You all
Owen,
got it wrong.
Don't name them after them.
If Owen wants a sphere assumption named after him, you can do anything you like in the heliocentric model. Do you want the Arwinosphere? Because if you want, I can make that happen.
How dare you?
I think you got
Arwinosphere.
How dare you blaspheme against me?
you all got it wrong. The guy was saying it was just poor English. He was trying to say I'm on the sphere, and he said ionosphere.
Yeah, so he was Chinese. Ionosphere.
We'll just point out that at the end of this little nonsensical diatribe of people correcting why you can or can't see a clock, the first guy who looks at the clock and just says clock is a flat earther.
Can I take this back to Simon Dan for a minute? I don't think we concluded that point successfully enough. We need more ball earthers to interview people like BBC correspondents and ask them questions like housekeeping, because they can't answer it. And it's just absolutely brilliant that we come across this clip, because I wouldn't have come across it ordinarily. I can't even remember how I found it. But if these ball earthers get people like George Musa on and BBC correspondents on and ask them any of the housekeeping questions, watch for how they don't answer the question, but give an answer, a bit like a politician's answer, where it's not actually an answer, but like you can think of it as an answer. Because the guy didn't answer the question that was presented. He started talking about how wonderful it was that we were questioning the solar system and all that. And I'm like, what about the answer to the question that you asked, you idiot?
Send the housekeeping questions into a children's science program.
Oh, I by the way want to come back to what Nathan said about the Arwinosphere.
I knew it.
Yeah, well, there's something that might be called an Arwinosphere, but that's very specific. It's if the Earth turns out to be a flat ball, then you can call it the Arwinosphere, right? Because it's not just a literal ball, and there's not a new element being invented. It's just the way that the Earth turns out to be a ball in a non-geometric way. Then you can call it the Arwinosphere.
Already a locally flat ball.
Speaking of locally flat, Free WT says Ranty lost his drone, so Coriolis must be real. Thanks for the
Can I say something about all those guys that you guys were talking about?
All those guys?
In that yeah, all those guys coming in on that big situation. In that situation, though, nobody could hear anything because Rumpus was talking the whole time. He was plenty muted.
Speaking of Rumpus, it's worth pointing out to Rumpus every time you see him in chat that Ranty's telling people on his side that you can have flat water locally, right? Which means there's got to be an edge somewhere. So he's living on a disco ball. Notice that he won't answer your question and that nobody on his side's calling out Ranty. Isn't that amazing? If Ranty did that as a ball earth, as a flat earther, he'd be getting called a moron. We don't live on a disco ball, Ranty. But because he seems to be on their side, according to them, then all of a sudden it's acceptable.
Yeah. Show us the Earth corner. It's not curve anymore, right? It's not, so it shows the corner. Where's the corner?
No. Not show us the corner, no. Right. Locally flat, so no 8 inches per mile squared drop as per your sphere claim and mathematics then. Thanks, Ranty. Yeah, we agree. Locally flat. Yeah, all flat. But there should be 8 inches per mile squared drop from every vantage point if you're on a sphere. That's their claim. In the same way they've got a claim of a geometric horizon. If that's irrelevant, or we start asking them for the edge of a disco ball. No, what's that? You say flat? Yeah, we agree. Welcome to Flat Earth. Yeah, obviously Ranty's still a flat earther. He's telling you how flat it is, and we agree. So he hasn't changed his position that much. Yeah, locally flat. We agree. Measurably, observably, locally, if you like. Flat. Not sphere-shaped,
But what does the local part of that actually stand for then, if not in a contrast to something else?
As opposed to not sphere-shaped. Not 8 inches per mile squared drop from every vantage point as claimed on a sphere. So, yeah, if you want to say locally flat and not challenge your own brethren on the globe side who's telling us there's no drop at 8 inches per mile squared locally, then you feel free to just button your lips when we point out, thanks very much, we know it's flat.
But I would rather just call it universally flat. But maybe
Yeah.
that's a little bit too much flat.
Not really.
For-
Not when
for
you
normal
can.
people.
Not when you can measure out an elevation profile on Google Earth and demonstrate that for thousands and thousands of miles it's measurably flat. I don't think that's an unreasonable assumption at all, given that it is.
Has it come out what the scientific paper was that Ranty was referring to with regards to this local flatness?
I don't know. Didn't know he had claimed science. Any single viable
Oh, yeah.
hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nathan, he claimed
Hell
he
no.
had papers that supported his assertion that we live on a locally flat plane, but has still got edges to it. He said he had papers, and Conspiracy Cats was aware of them. And I'm like, oh, really? Let's have a look at them then.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I mean, if you want to push Ranty into citing something that backs us in terms of how flat it is, yeah, then, obviously push for that. Yeah, please tell us how flat it is. Thanks.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm telling you, this is a better concession than we've never seen the geometric horizon. We don't have one. Why would you expect to see it? Now you're just telling us it's flat. That's
Yeah.
cute. I like it.
It is cute. It's gone from, we have Earth with a sphere edge blocking the bottoms of this stuff in the distance, and we say, no, it doesn't match your maths. And they go, no, it's refracted with respect to the sphere edge we're proving. We can fudge the maths so that the targets move. And then you fast forward 3 years, and they say, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. It's locally flat. That's the globe side in the trenches saying that. They're telling you that from the globe side, it's flat. I mean, we've won.
You can't see the geometric horizon, Nathan.
Sounds like he's a panicking.
You can't see the geometric horizon. None of you are claiming it, even though we're embarrassing the hell out of you by showing you where you've claimed it. You did claim it. We've debunked it. Now it's locally flat, right, globe believers? Yeah, it's flat. Earth's flat. We know. Just keep barking on from a, defensive position about how locally flat it is? Yeah, not the 8 inches per mile squared then. Maybe tell us about perspective. So not the Earth curve geometric maths that was laughed at because it didn't need Fleur perspective because it's geometric. What's that? You don't have a geometric horizon. Yeah, every single thing you say at the moment, Globers, confirms to anybody who comes along and listens that Earth's flat.
God, how funny is that now, Fleur perspective? Back in the day when they started saying that, it was just annoying. We all knew they were trying to avoid understanding it, how it really works. Now it's so funny.
Who was it? Was it P. Mars or somebody like that told us this is something you guys made up? This doesn't exist. This perspective. This doesn't. You guys are making this up to prove you're flat Earth.
I think it was
Yeah.
Tim Osmond.
Wow, that didn't age really well.
Tim Osmond that did that.
Right, and now they had to sneakily get it back in as regular perspective. You don't hear them say Fleur perspective anymore, do we?
No, we say it now.
Not when it becomes their argument.
Yeah, like anybody who's good at responding to bullying, you just pick up that thing they've tried to throw at you and you hurl it right back. Oh yeah, Fleur perspective. So the perspective that you're now discussing that was formerly decried as not being needed because of geometry, right? Because of your geometric Earth curve edge that you're claiming with your side profile that didn't need perspective, it's geometric. Have you never built a house? You don't need Fleur perspective unless you realise that that's the basis of your reality when you're looking at things, like you are when you're comparing your geometry to optical effects in photographs. Yeah, that's a big problem. By the way, thanks, Cats. It's really nice that we can be discussing this now. Deeply embarrassing when we take the words of your protagonists on your own side and use them against the current claims you're making at the Blackpool Tower. Yeah? Oh, how are you getting on with those observer heights, plural? 6 of them. Very important. Gem Panda. I don't know if I can be asked to go trim out Gem Panda's words in this regard, but he was very, very upset about it being taken from Google Earth. So if you happen to hear Gem Panda criticising Cats and Co, you'll know why.
I did hear Rumpus claiming that Anthony's observation height has gradually creeped up, and he's had to admit now that such and such a thing was true. And when I heard that, I'd never heard that before. I heard that for the first time when Nathan clipped it out the other day, and I just thought, you little lying shitbag. I don't know how old this is, but I never conceded anything on the observer height. The only concession I made was that it said 35 feet on the observer height from Google Earth. When it was measured, it turned out to be 47 feet, 12 feet higher. Okay, I'm not responsible for that. It doesn't make that much difference. But I went back and got the same observation from the beach, which you lot all completely and utterly ignored. I wonder why that was. Rumpus didn't tell people that, though, did he? No.
Yeah, that's correct. You left that as a comment. So precisely, while he's saying, oh, the heights were going up and up and up. No, they weren't. To the point where we are saying consistently, that's what it says in Google Earth. Now, that's their defense now, isn't it? Oh, it's what it says in Google Earth. The other wasn't acceptable. We had to go and physically measure it to be able to say or confirm how close we were to the Google Earth measurement that wasn't acceptable. Yeah. So we were there with our bits of string, dragging them out, making triangles.
Is this not after the ballers went and made it ridiculously high? I can't remember them going there and claiming it was over 100 foot your measurement.
That's correct. They said it was over 100 feet.
Yeah, what they did was they conflated, because obviously there was a second video, the addendum video, which like showed it at a much higher location because it was the highest I could see at the time. So I went up there just to see what I could see. And from that, we took the composites to be able to work out whether we were looking at lighthouses or farmyards or whatever. What they do is they conflate between the two observations as though they are the same, to deliberately confuse people and make out as though it was significantly higher than what it really was. We're at the lower level, which is where the original claim was made. What is this land? Okay, it might not have been Ireland, but even at that elevation, it's not supposed to be seen on a ball, yet we could see it. And they said to me at the time, go back and get it from the beach, Riley. So I did, and they all completely ignored it. I wonder why.
Yeah, you went lower. You went lower and got the same observation, and they couldn't. They've 3 straight years Rumpus has lied through his back teeth about being 99% done about it. I mean, this is why I'm currently saying now I'm turning my back on Rumpus in terms of his participation. Doesn't mean I won't use his words against you. Au contraire. Yeah, check out the most recent video about cats and co, where it's simply Rumpus's words with very little editing required, I might add, to make perfect sense. Now, because Ranty was involved with the Isle of Man, some of it didn't even need the names of the people editing out. I can just let him leave it exactly as is with him criticising Ranty for the exact same things. But it's just Ranty's on your side now. How joyous it is for cats to have dropped this gift in our laps. So yeah, I can use all your own words against you. And the defence, when I do that, that is use Rumpus's former words that were against us against Cats and Co. The only defence for Rumpus is to lie. Same goes for Roofy. Doesn't it, Roofy? You've got to lie now. And that's the position they've been put in by Cats. Absolutely epic.
And the thing is, like, it goes beyond that as well, because like when you listen to them in their own little echo chambers, they say that they won't go on to Nathan's because he's A, B, and C. The simple reality is we've got the knowledge, experience, and the know-how now to be able to put you guys in the corner and beat you into a pulp. And you guys can't join. Not that you don't want to join because Nathan's A, B, or C. It's that you can't join because you get absolutely decimated every single time. And that's the truth. So shove it in the face. Don't let them tell you that Nathan's this, that, and the other. Tell them you can't join because they get battered every time, because that is the truth.
Yeah, they've just watched it happen. It's recently been published on several videos. Rumpus having his head removed. I refracted everything. End quote. Total lie. All I did was go back and trim out him saying how you draw straight lines and you must adhere to globe geometry. Yeah, I refracted everything. No, you're a demonstrable liar. Oh, thank you, Cats. It's so nice to have one of our biggest opponents be called an outright liar with easy to acquire proof laid over the top of your current claim.
Well, another way of putting it is saying that they don't like being called out on logical fallacies. They don't think that logical fallacies are a problem.
Yeah, if only you'd let me beg the question, I'd have made my point and won.
Well, it gets much worse than that. Rumpus was on a show, and he destroyed all Earth-based navigation if you think it's a globe, because he says the sunlight comes in divergent, not parallel. So he just destroyed all of the globe magic with that one statement.
I love the fact he still claims he's 100% right 100% of the time.
Well, it's a demonstrable liar. Same as Rufy, same as Cats. We can call these bastards the liars that they are with proof that they are liars and lying very easily because we've been around a while and we haven't got amnesia and it's all recorded and easy to trim out and put next to their current lies.
I saw something where Ranty was criticising Adam Meakin for double calculating the curve or double calculating the drop. Basically, he just dismissed what Adam was saying or Adam's point. He played a little bit of Adam's point and then dismissed it, but didn't actually address it. Just completely flipped him off. And I'm like, yeah, Ranty, try addressing the point that's being raised, because then you'll realise that he's not actually double counting for the curve. He's actually addressing why you guys are overcompensating, not us overcompensating.
Yeah, he just stated it like it was wrong, but never then justified it. They can't address that because that's the bit. That's the beginning of their first bit of lies, isn't it? As they once again force us into a orthographic straw man, but won't accept their own orthographic view if you're on a ball, and they cheat, and by doing so take the metabunk data, take their optical view, the thing that they claim you could see if you have got an observer height that they're still not defined, and then they use those figures to plot an orthographic view. That's what I'm challenging them on, and what Ranty hand wave dismissed. And the hand wave is, to me, says a lot. You can't address it because you're perverting the maths. You're cheating and you're setting up two different systems to not again prove your ball, but just to prove that it's not possible on a flat earth. It's weak.
It's a shell game, very weak to burn a straw man. So move the shells around. Hopefully no one will notice which one's moved where. And then pull it off and go, look, flat earth, that's what's underneath. So therefore fail. You go, no. Just moved a few shells around. Yeah, I'll do one last plug to my show that's going out 7:45 UK time. So 8:45 PM UK time on Nathan Oakley 1980 for those of you watching live. There is Trouble at the BBC. I will give third time on one show props to Simon Dan for catching a BBC correspondent to put the question we ask daily in the housekeeping, which is how can you have gas pressure without a container? Now, obviously, Dan needed to narrate or paraphrase that question into the word atmosphere. Obviously, Dan couldn't paraphrase it without begging the question of sphere-shaped air when putting it to the BBC correspondent. He's got to give the guy every help he needs by begging the question of sphere-shaped air in violation of natural law. But aside from Dan paraphrasing what we actually ask, he still, for the most part, put the question to your BBC correspondent. Props to you. I can only imagine you were hoping he'd help you out with an answer, as opposed to tell you that he admires how we're actually looking into the universe. Yeah, no, we're describing natural law that's violated by your sky vacuum, but there we go, nice dodge, BBC correspondent. Very pleased to know that you're joyful that we're looking into the universe that we don't have in your description based on your religion of a sky vacuum. Natural law violation, my friend. You didn't address it for Dan. I bet he was very disappointed. Were you disappointed, Dan? Were you hoping he would help you out with an answer to that question and tell you how you can have your natural law violation sky vacuum? Because he didn't, did he now? I can only assume you wanted an answer. It wasn't like you were asking because you knew. It's not like we ask our questions. We already know the answers. That's how intelligent people operate. You were fishing for an actual answer because you don't have one, do you, Dan? So you didn't ask him because you already knew. You were hoping he'd actually answer you, given that he's an astrophysicist. And instead he just complimented flat earthers for their inquiry into the quote universe. Nah, mate. Didn't help you out at all, did he, Dan? Unlucky.
So just to clear it up, because I didn't see this. So Simon then asked this guy, "How could we have gas? Basically, how could we have gas pressure without a container?"
Yes.
And instead of actually answering the question, what he says is, "Oh shit, flat earthers asking good questions."
He also said he flipped the question back onto Dan and said, "Well, obviously you understand that they're wrong. I mean, they are wrong. So, very useful for me to, I just take that and put it next to a demonstration of an entropy increase in line with natural law, inviolable natural law.
Is that a hand wave from an astrophysicist?
Yeah, total hand wave. They're just wrong. They're flat earthers. Obviously, you disagree with them. They are just wrong, Dan. You do just disagree with him, was his response.
Appeal to consensus.
Yeah. Appeal to Dan's consensus. Hey, Dan, guy asking me about whether or not we can have a sky vacuum in violation of natural law, and specifically naming the second law of thermodynamics and an entropy increase as the process that would violate our belief in a sky vacuum. They're just wrong, Dan, aren't they? That was his response. That's what Dan got from him.
To be fair, he did say one other thing. He said he wakes up every day wondering about what's going on in the sky above us, or words to that effect. Basically, he padded out a waffle answer without answering the question. And can you imagine if we were cornered by a baller with a point-blank question and we just didn't answer it and we gave a waffly answer? They wouldn't let us get away with that. But Simon Dan allowed this guy to basically get away with whatever he wanted. It's just ridiculous.
If you wake up every day wondering, does that mean you don't know?
Correct.
What you claim you know? Then?
Well, he was assured by this astrophysicist that we were wrong. Just be assured, Dan. They're flat earthers and they're therefore wrong. Don't worry about the actual question that you asked and your hope that you'd get an answer from an astrophysicist to retain your sky vacuum so that you could get a bit better sleep. Well, he didn't give you that, Dan. That's a shame. I'm grateful that you asked the question, and that's why I trimmed it out, so we can point out how fake space is. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
One last shout out to Godzilla37 who says, Tim, Ruhif, Ranty, Jem, Rumpus, George, Ed, Kat, is this really the best you've got? Sorry about your luck, Globies.
Which one did you want, 10th man? The Michikaku?
Yeah, just your top 5 or top 6 that you use.
Just your top 6 at a pinch.
Well,
you want the actual video quotes, or you want?
No.
I'd have to go
just
find
the
all that.
little
I can't
clips.
do that right now.
No,
I'll try to do that later.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just able to store them now. So I'd like
we
to have
always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you go make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method.
I love that part.
And
use it.
It sounds more pronounced every time I hear it. I know it's because Chocolate stresses it every time he quotes him. But when you actually hear him say it, he really does say under, and you know he's going to say understands.
It's funny how all of us kind of look at different parts of different topics and we all pick up on little bits, and it really rings bells with us when we say for me, it was like gravity's not a force. And obviously I understand causation, so I know that you need a force to cause an acceleration. If gravity's not a force, then what is it? And then they say it's an effect. So I picked up on that particular point. Chocolate will pick up on his bit. Meekin will pick up on his bit. Ranty picked up on his bits. And when you put them all together, you realise none of it makes any sense. It's crazy.
Everyone knows you're lying about the Isle of Man, Nathan. We all know.
Shut up, Rumpus. We know you're lying. You're going to come in and immediately claim I'm lying as your opening gambit. Get lost. You've been proven a liar, refracted everything. Yeah, it didn't take me long to cut out quotes where you were drawing straight lines and telling us we must accept globe geometry. Apparently that's irrelevant now. No, it just makes you a liar. So to come in and use your opening gambit, you're a liar, to project it onto me, get lost.
Is that real? I thought he was playing a previous clip of him. Was that Rumpus just actually?
I
It's
thought so
opening
too,
gambit
yeah.
because he's been called out as a liar, demonstrable, provable liar. I refracted everything. No, you didn't, you blatant liar. Now, his opening gambit when he comes in is to call me a liar, to cast doubt on me. What scum? That's why he's not welcome. That's what liars do. When you catch them out in a lie, they'll say, no, you're a liar.
Worst part is he sounds very stressed out about it. Like, you know you're a scumbag.
Poor
Why do you
guy.
keep coming in here sounding stressed out? I don't get that. Just
Why
about it.
did he rumpus Discord
very
when the guy came
frustrated,
in and
isn't
said
he?
the whole time he was rumpusing in Discord? Why does he want the show not to be heard?
Because the Earth's not a sphere. And he needs to attribute lies and deceit to the people who are proving that it's not a sphere, because it isn't. So he needs to label us liars, which is precisely what he's done. And he doesn't want him, the person with the positive assertion in the first instance that Earth's a sphere, with the geometric horizon he's drawn tangents to. Oh, my bad, he's refracted everything. Yeah, that's a lie. Why he's not welcome? He's a blatant, outright, demonstrable liar. That's the person defending your sphere belief, by the way. Tip of your spears, a proven liar. And what's he lying about? Well, he's lying about Earth curve. The very thing he's supposed to be defending he is now lying about. I refracted everything. No, you didn't. You drew a tangent. Total lie. That's the Black Swan argument you've hand-waved for 18 months. Now you're having to lie about it. What I should tolerate his first words being, you're a liar. You're lying about the Isle of Man. No, I'm not.
He's an angry, frustrated little man.
Yes, he is.
Can't get laid. That's why he's here, because he can't get laid.
No
need.
Not
No
little.
need.
He's
No, no,
over
no,
6
no, no,
foot
no.
2.
No need. He's here because he needs to defend his lie. I refracted everything. No, you didn't. You need a tangent. That's the Black Swan argument. That's where the argument died. It's now reaching the point where you're having to lie to defend your prior claims in the face of the Black Swan argument you've hand-waved. Well, now we're proving you're liars. That's it. We chop your head off and move on to the next liar. Like Rufy, cancerous liar that he is, has said the same thing. No. It's irrelevant, the geometric horizon. I'm pretty sure Al-Biruni also had a refracted horizon. No, you outright lying scum. You lying to your audience and lying to yourself potentially, but I don't care. Now I can prove you're a lying shitbag. I'll just say it to my audience. Do you think I want to tell Rumpus 5 times that refracted everything's a lie? That it's your response to the Black Swan and it's a lie when I prove that's not what you've done? Yeah, that's not going to be tolerated. But I will call out the next man and say, yeah, I want to call you a liar and tell you to sod off to your face. But of course, they're in no rush to come and be called liars like Rumpus, who's clearly a sadist.
It's not a good day for the globe, is it? Every day's a bad day at the minute. Best thing is, though, they've got Ranty championing it now. It's brilliant. It's like, what? You can keep him.
Ranty's perfectly suited to the globe side. Gotta be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Oh, that ended quickly.
I mean, any globals want to come in and tell us how the Earth being a sphere with a radius of 59 miles is our claim? The flat earthers claim? Anybody?
Oh, like Ed did on the video I most recently released.
Exactly.
Go on, Sasha. that you clicking, Anthony?
Yeah. Sorry, you can hear that. Sorry.
So let's see. They straying away from answering the questions about the black swan. They rather rejoice they got ranty, which is fine by us. And they consider this a win?
You haven't got a geometric horizon, but we got ranty.
Yeah. The Earth being a sphere, 3959 miles. That's our claim. We have reference frames apparently, and we're being told it's locally flat. Told it's locally flat. That's as an explanation for why it's not curved.
Yeah, that's
this is
what I'm
where
saying.
we are in 2021.
I can't stress this enough to my own panel, right? I'm going to stress this again, and I've stressed it twice on this show. Know when you've won. Yeah, it's the reason I can say this is because of having a sales training background. Don't overclose the sale. When your opponent in debate is telling you it's locally flat, when your opponent in debate is telling you we don't have Earth curve, when your opponent is telling you that their geometry is irrelevant, take the win. Don't force them to accept their claim in the first instance so you can start arguing with them again. Say, what's that? Nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. Welcome to flat Earth. What's that you say? It's locally flat. Welcome to flat Earth. Not, you should be claiming there's 8 inches per mile squared. Because what happens is you have a role reversal. You end up taking it too far, where the globe side's claiming it's locally flat and there's no Earth curve, and we're claiming they should be claiming there's Earth curve. So we switch positions. We're suddenly arguing that they should be arguing for Earth curve, and they're arguing that they should be understanding that it's locally flat. It's like, no, don't let it go that far. Just tell them, yeah, we know. Yeah, locally flat. Yeah, we know. Flat. Yeah. Thanks. Welcome. Not globe. Not 8 miles squared.
We've got to learn to be more gracious in our victory, haven't we? I think.
Well, you
Yeah,
could
I mean,
just
we're being
try to
nice.
inquire.
We're saying thank you now, aren't we? I mean, we're being nice and cordial. Thank you for your concessions, Globers. We appreciate that. Good looking out.
We're also welcoming them, you know? Warm welcome. Hello, welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, 20 miles at a time.
Snacks in the back. Hats to the left.
Exactly. Snacks in the back. I mean, come on. We're even providing refreshments. Come on, guys.
It's just a meet and greet, Chuck.
If I can just share screen, guys, I am trying to be generous, and I've done them a little quiz to introduce them to flat Earth. So a little, if we could. That was yesterday's pop quiz that I never got.
You're such a good host.
Flashing, it's flashing, it's flashing. Can you stop screen sharing and start again?
You what, Nathan?
Giving me. Oh, I'm gonna have a fit. Flashing.
Your presentation is blinking.
Is it?
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something. If the ballers now say, yeah, it's locally flat, you realize you've effectively won, but you can ask them to elaborate, to explain what they exactly mean.
No, that's not what would happen. Let's say you'd won an argument about space being fake, right? What would then happen isn't snacks are in the back, as much as we joke that when there's not an actual opponent in front of us. They'll demand a straw man to burn as a consolation prize. They'll try and drag you down as they drown. In other words, they'll say, well, how do you prove your dome? So there's a tacit acceptance that you can't have gas pressure without a container, that containment would be required to be breathing, but then they demand that you give them some answers. You know, they're going, well, you must tell me how the world is now. Now, in that case, it's like, when it's me, I don't want to speak for anyone else, I give them words to the effect of, after I've debunked your nonsense claim of a sky vacuum, I can just take a giant steaming dump on it and walk away laughing. I don't have to tell you what the sky is, I don't know. And nor do I have to tell you. But you can plead with me for some what strawman dome you say there is, I don't claim that. But what you think because I've debunked your sky vacuum that suddenly I must adhere to every single stereotype fallacy that you have held in place for a flat earther, and therefore give you answers about that strawman stereotyping fallacy you think I must adhere to. No, I'll just buckle up my pants, laugh. No vacuum for the sky then. What's that? I must give you answers about what the sky is? No, I'll just laugh at you. But you can demand them of me while I laugh at you.
That's the point I was making about being sarcastically but more gracious and recognising we've won. There's no need to carry on past that point with gas pressure or with where we are with them right now with regards to horizons. We've won when they make that claim, and either a laugh like you're doing there, or realistically just welcome to flat Earth and just recognise the point that they've made our points for us, especially at locally flat. I mean, that one is destruction of everything that they hold true.
Of course, but you can still ask them to actually try to explain what they think they mean with that, you know? And that wouldn't lead them into straw manning you with something else. You know, changing the subject would be an effective straw man away from it, a red herring.
Yeah, you're
But
describing.
You can still ask them, like, so what does that mean?
Yeah, you're describing a
Can you be
process
more
of keeping.
specific?
You're describing the process of keeping the argument alive when you've won. You've won the race, and you go, let's race on the lap of honour. Let's see if you're faster than me while I'm doing the lap of honour.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you crash.
No, no, you don't.
Arwen is trying to administer CPR to these clowns and keep them alive.
Yeah, that's what he wants to do. He's reviving the drowned man. And once the guy's got... Yeah, but what do you mean locally flat?
So if you're a fan of Call of Duty, Black Ops or whatever, and your man's down and it says revive, and you run up to him, you got to press and hold your star button for 3 seconds to revive you. That's what Arwen's doing right now. He's reviving the baller that's down.
What, just so he can shoot him in the head again?
Yeah,
exactly.
You make it sound so nefarious.
So do you when you say things like that. We were talking about you in the pre-show, actually, Arwen, just so it doesn't come as a shock when you watch this particular show.
All right.
Well, we were talking about how you were in a... I hope we didn't say it in any derogatory terms when you weren't here, but needing a bit of toughening up. Now, an example I can give you that won't be in any way offensive is you asking us, well, why are you a bit derogatory to me, bashing me? And we're like, no, we're knocking you because we like you. It's our way of saying we love you, Arwen. And we explained it's British humour or various other things. But the process of doing that was what was discussed in the pre-show. That particular process, as Neil would call it, breaking your balls, toughens you up a little bit, hardens you. And at the end of the discussion, we're saying, well, you know, it's these insults that we're describing flat earthers would receive as a group. We're at the tip of the spear, impervious pretty much to them, and you are amongst that group. But there was a time when you weren't, you know. And as friends, you want to toughen up your friends, especially when you're in a battle like we are. So, you know, it was just kind of going through that process, not in any way demeaning you, in case it comes across that way in the pre-show.
We'll see. No.
I honestly think that Arwen thinks that you're gaslighting him when you explain it like that, Nathan. Because I just don't think he gets. I don't think he gets. Not the humour's the wrong word. Satire is the wrong word, but the chivalry, the friendship side to it. I don't think he understands that.
Yeah, I do.
There's an
I'm right here, Tony. Yeah, I do.
He can't speak for himself, Tony.
He just proved that it did work because he said, "We'll see."
It's called a ribbing.
Ribbing.
Ribbing. Look it up. Ribbing in the Urban Dictionary.
I know. I know what that is.
Do you remember us back in
It all
the day?
depends on the context of when you do it, and because sometimes I might have a bigger process on my mind that I can't get through for some reason, and then when you do it, I know you mean it well. It's just really annoying because I can't get through with my point or something.
Yeah, but then we don't give a
It's all
shit.
about the context to me. But I do get it. I do get what you're doing. I know it's not a hostile action. I know you're not
No, it
actually
is. No, it is.
poo-pooing
That's
me.
what. Did you hear what Neil just said?
We don't give a shit.
All
It's
right.
about trying to sharpen you up, because the sharper
mean-
you are,
in
the more
in the
we
meantime-
like and respect you.
I want to hear what Meekin's got to say. Come on.
There was.
Hang on. Okay, go on, Adam.
There was. It is just. I do love you, Owen, but I remember the only time you've told me off, it was in chat once, and it demonstrates you're not quite probably grasping British humour. But it was a time when Ranty had fell off a ladder and landed on his Stanley knife. And all I did was text him afterwards, in your chat saying, sorry to hear about your botched suicide attempt, which is a good example. But you told me off for being mean.
No, but that's because that's because of the fractal implications of just using that type of words.
Fractal.
Yeah, fractal. Taking into account everybody that will ever hear that in whatever context.
That's the whole point of what they're trying to say.
Social engineering. Like I like to keep it very careful as to type of things you let out.
Yeah, that's the irony of it, Arwin.
Why you psychoanalyze yourself?
That's
Hold
why
on.
people get offended if they don't understand the context.
Exactly, the context that Arwin's explaining. But while Arwin's explaining the very context that Adam's using that context that Arwin's taken offence to, not realising that that's the very reason Adam's using it, to be intentionally offensive, like overtly, extremely offensive. That's why it's funny.
Hold on. I get that. It's just that my show has kind of very specific objectives, and they don't really match. They don't really provide, to be honest, the natural freedom for that sort of thing. My show is not that kind of a show. I am really on like what type of energy do you wield? And I know you guys like to joke around. Hey, I like to joke around. It's just not, my show is not meant for that.
In the meantime, Nathan, go to Master B. I got a cure for the ballers. They can get their ball back with this. They don't have to go locally flat anymore.
Are you reviving the man that's down? 10th?
I've just got a nice little picture here.
Ball doctor.
Wait, is 10th man a Baywatch lifeguard or something?
No, look at this. Look at this ball. I mean, what a perfect name, ball doctor. They're into locally flat. They're into No, we're gonna get you back to the ball, so we have some of the good old days back here. We're taking our beliefs.
See, this is the problem I think we've got. If you're going to say that the good old days is debating with fundamentalist religiotards about how Earth's flat in the face of glaring evidence to the contrary, why would you say that's the good old days?
No, what I'm trying to say, the good old days. Well, if you let me answer, I will. The good old days is when your opponent is defending their side. They're no longer defending their side. They're talking about our side.
That's the position.
I thought it was very strenuous at the beginning.
You've just repositioned. You've said the same thing. So
right, but from a different context, I'm saying.
Hello. So what I'm saying is, to have progress, you need to reach a point where your opponent cannot progress their side's position. Now, at the point where they're putting their position forward, it's like, you've lined up all your defensive lines, and then you go at it. Well, at the end of the battle, when they're all retreated and they've got no more to push forward with, that's because I'm trying to explain this with the context of know when you've won. You're saying, no, the good old days is when they had their swords in the air, ready to come in and tell us.
No, you're missing my humor here. I totally agree with you. If anything, I know when to stop talking when the sale is closed. I totally agree with you there. The point I'm making is that when the soldier is hurt, they cry out, medic, medic. And so here on this ball doctor, so right now when the ballers are hurt, they're going 20 miles flat, 20 miles flat. And I'm saying, all right, here we go. We'll get you back to your side.
Gotcha. This is their medivac on the globe side, is what you're saying. You're playing globe.
Yeah, it's from their perspective I'm talking.
I understand that.
They're intuitively struggling to get out of the cage that they put themselves into. That they actually have to stay in. The wheel goes to places even where it shouldn't until the consciousness catches on.
If you zoom in that picture and look at that basketball with the needle in it, it's locally flat until they press and get back to their ball.
Won't let me make it big.
It's awesome.
It's the wrong scale when I try and make it big. Can I make it big? Let's have one more go. When I'm looking at the ball, I'm zooming in on the ball itself.
Yeah, where the needle's stuck in it, you can see it's flat locally.
I'm making a right mess now.
You didn't get my point, did you?
Oh, go on, Arvin. I'm sorry.
I already made my point.
Well, we were in the middle of a conversation, so how can I get your point?
Well, you were talking about, okay, we're helping the ballers back to their side because they're wandering off into flat assumptions, which is incompatible with their model. Then I metaphorically explained that by the ballers are stuck in a cage that they built for themselves, their own set of rules, their own confine that they aren't allowed to wander out of. But yeah, getting stuck in a cage makes you desperate, and your intuition will play tricks on you to try and escape because that's built in our intuition. So they can unconsciously try to escape from the prison they built from themselves until you point it out or until they catch on with their consciousness, and then they go back to their cage.
No, I agree, Owen. It's the second time you've said exactly the same thing, pretty much verbatim. I agree. I should have said at the time you said it originally, profound. It is profound, and you're right. You know, the descriptions that I will detail from people like Miles Davis and Conspiracy Cats himself about their pain that they experience, whether it's described as their mate's pain or whatever, is as a result of what you've just described. The cage that they put themselves in. Well, that's their own self-induced pain. And in the case of Miles Davis, or the description I got from Brian yesterday that's being described by him, that the pain is caused by us, it's like, no, it isn't. You know, we're describing the truth and reality of the nature of the world we live in and detailing where you lie or cherry pick or whatever it is you're doing. And we know it causes you pain. There's a reason we say share your pain. But Arwen's describing the precursor to that pain. Very appropriate, Arwen.
Yes, exactly.
It's a little sad, right? Because they interject themselves into it. You could just ignore this topic. You could ignore the fact that people even having this discussion. Go watch Star Wars, right? Go have a lightsaber battle. What are you interjecting yourself into this? But you're not even healthy enough to do it? Are you serious?
It's their own self-doubt that brings them here. They want their confirmation
Terrible.
bias. They're seeking confirmation bias. And when they can't find it, they'll try and quash the opponent's view. Like sticking your fingers in your ears and going la 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 la. But you just can't ignore it. So they can't ignore us. It's their own cell that Arwen's describing. They're creating it. And as Chocolate says, you could walk away from it. It's like the person...
I'll have a lightsaber battle?
Well, no, it's more like the empath that won't leave the narcissist. They just keep going back to that bastard that treats them like shit. And everyone around them says, just don't go back. And they go, no, I've got to. You're like, well, at that point, you're doing it to yourself? Well, the same applies in the way Chocolate's describing that when they come here. Now, a lot of the commenters will say it in the chat feeds. They'll say, you're all X, Y, and Z. And the commenter below will say, but you're here making this comment. You know, that's a self-defeating description because you're actually here defying the thing you're describing. You're giving it credence. If it had no credence, you wouldn't be here.
Right. Coming in chat every single day telling us how irrelevant and dying we are.
You know what I
Every
think
single day
happened?
for years.
Well, I can't remember who it was earlier
You
that was
know-
describing leaving comments and, you know, eventually getting blocked and banned. I think it was Anthony. But there's a difference between that and trolling. Trolling is where you've explained to a particular individual 20, 30, 40, 1,000 times that drift would involve you turning underneath the gyroscope and therefore things above it would drift like footballs. But then they have the same thing over and over again. They'll just come in and say gyroscope. And you're like, what, you want me, because you've typed out one word, to go through an explanation that's been gone through 1,000 times? That's trolling. Whereas a detailed, cited explanation for a current position the YouTuber in this instance putting forward to his audience incorrectly, corrected by citation based on current heliocentric rhetoric, that's not trolling.
You know what I think happened?
What?
What I
leave
think
us hanging.
happened is that sorry, a bus was going by, but what I think happened was that something that we're all familiar with and aware of, but we just don't take into account when we have these gatherings here on the internet. Now, there was an initial point where I was new to this, and I went to my friends, my family, and I said, hey, moon landing kind of sketch, huh? oh, are you a flat earther? Blah, 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 blah. I think that everyone is met with this pressure. And so, like the bully has friends, lackeys who follow behind them, these people are just lackeys for the globe because they didn't have the balls, no pun intended, to stand up. When that initial pushback happened, we all said, yeah, okay, whatever. But look at this evidence, though. They don't have that kind of courage. And I think that's what we all don't think about. This is probably what happens in the mind of a baller when he is pressed.
Hey, Eli,
Fear.
they didn't understand your sphere of influence.
Yeah,
Pun intended.
perfect pun. Yeah, it's fear. Correct. You don't have to necessarily reverse it into us being super confident. You know, a lack of fear. I didn't go, oh God, but if it's flat, that means they're lying about all these other things. That was a subconscious realization, but I didn't suddenly shit my pants because of it. It made me a little bit intrigued to look at those things, but I didn't suddenly live in fear of it. In fact, quite the reverse. There was a sense of relief. And I know lots of people who described the exact same sensation to me in light of finding out that they've been lied to about the nature of their reality. But by contrast, that's not courage, but the contrast is fear.
Well,
that was literally the last thing that I experienced was fear. It was literally like I was bored again. Like, oh my God, all the crap, all the nonsense that I was subjected to all my life. This is the reason why I thought it was all ridiculous, because it is fantastic.
The only thing that scared me, I just want to get this in, the only thing that scared me, Chocolate, was again, it was subconscious, but I knew it was there. So saying it's subconscious is kind of wrong, but it was an immediate realization that there's a God. Now, I've got plenty of skeletons in my closet, and I didn't want to face any of them. I've faced them in the past and didn't want to have to do it all over again. So I fought against that. So initially, I'm like, nah. Nah. In other words, the denial of it is me understanding at a subconscious level that is the reality I must now accept. But I wanted to brace against it. That left me a bit fearful. Now I'm like, yeah, okay, I know what my monsters are. I did when I first assessed them, as much as having to do it all over again because, yeah, we live in a created universe. There's no two ways about it. But I didn't want that to be the case for the longest part, for the first part of the flat Earth journey. I didn't want that to be the case.
Well, you know how you get caught by your parents in a lie and you have this dumb smirk on your face. That's exactly what I had when I looked up in the sky and I was like, my bad.
Yeah, same here. I did exactly the same thing. But I'd been doing it all along anyway, which made that bit a lot more easy. So back to the correspondent that Simon Dan interviewed. He's like, I appreciate people who are, looking up at the sky and contemplating what it is, the universe in his vernacular. Well, I'd been doing that forever. Well, long before Flat Earth, I got a telescope, I'd looked at the sky, I'd studied it all, and it was interesting to me. And there wasn't a time that went by that I didn't, if there was a clear night, go outside. I'd do it with my kids. Look, it's really clear, let's go out and have a look, let's see what we can see. It's just interesting and wondrous to do. So, to me, I've got the same attitude. It's like, why don't you just crick your neck up occasionally? Why don't you just go outside your front door instead of watching Coronation Street in EastEnders and have a look at the moon, or pay attention to what it's doing, beyond just the cursory glance or shutting your sun visor when it's in your eyes or whatever. I don't know. It's just people don't have a great deal of interest for it. But that doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to be a heliocentrist because you've got an interest in it and then go to the religious rhetoric of what they say a sun-centric religion says the world in the sky is.
It's also, to me, because when I started to really realize that outer space and that model concept wasn't real, that it's probably all a lot closer by. And that was kind of weird because, yeah, when you really think in your mind, when you imagine in your mind before you look at things, that everything you're looking up there at is super far away, then it's all very far away of you in your mind, literally. So it just doesn't really matter. It's just a bunch of distant light. But then when I realized, wait, there's something wrong here. It isn't what it is. It's suddenly like, wow, what the hell is this bizarre light spectacle? it's much closer by. And yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, the world becomes a much more wonderful place, in my opinion, when you realise that we're not in a nihilistic, ever-expanding soup of nothingness, that this could very well be all there is. But with that, I am going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!